So before I get into the bulk of the video, I thought I'd at least talk about a related aspect of the video. So we decided that we were gonna, well, we didn't decide. We've always wanted to raise this chicken run up. Now what this is these tents, you know, those outdoor camping tents that you can go and put your picnic table in. And they're pretty cheap. And that was the reason we decided to use the tents for the people who are new to the channel. Was one of my family members gave me a tent like this, the first one, when I was building a tiny house. We just put the porch on, but I hadn't put the roof on yet. And the winter was coming and I didn't want to finish it up until spring. So he gave me this tent, we put it on the porch. That way to keep the snow off the porch was the idea. And it worked. But once I put the roof on the porch, I had this tent laying around. So I didn't know what to do with it. Well, Carolyn said, well, why don't we just make it part of the chicken run? We were trying to make a chicken run out of PVC pipes, and it was working okay. But over time, this thing evolved into what it is now. We bought some chicken wire, put some chicken wire around it, and it just kept evolving. Now we have 3 layers of fencing around this silly thing, trying to keep everything out of it. And this has worked fantastic, except it just wasn't tall enough. It was always bending over trying to get into it. The reason we didn't want to raise it up was because the fencing has been really expensive. Now, if we could find something free or, on the free apps. Well, Carolyn finally just kind of gave up on the idea of being able to find a fence. And she found this plastic, I don't know, cloth stuff. You can find it on Amazon. It's $43 for 100 feet of it, 6 feet wide. We doubled it over. It gave us 2 layers of thickness, and it shades the chickens so they won't get all the sun in the summertime, which in the summertime is not so bad because the sun's straight above it. Now the fence, I think, still down here at the bottom is important. That way it keeps out the predators. I mean, we've had bobcats here, raccoons, possums, just everything you think of, dogs. But I don't think anything is going to go through that. It's really tough. Keeps the birds of prey out and keeps the chickens in. It seems to me that was a cheap solution to a problem that's been plaguing us for a good year. And I say plaguing, I mean, I was able to go in it just fine, but Carolyn's been worried about, she's getting up in age, she's worried that eventually she's just not gonna be able to go in there. And she doesn't like going in there anyways, because she was always having to bend over. So I went and bought another tarp. I wanted to get a white one, but this one was $21. The white one's like $50. I'm not poor. I don't want people to think I'm poor. And what I try to do on this channel is show you how you can survive whatever's going to happen, whatever SHTF thing is going to happen on the cheap. I mean, I doubt we have, we use an IBC tank for one of the chicken coops. And then we have the one I built. We didn't want to build another one. You can pick up an IBC tank for, $50 at the most. Carolyn just found one for $15. It doesn't have the metal cage over it. But we don't need the metal cage, we just needed the plastic housing. So next time we go to that town, we'll pick that up. Just cheap, but the chicken wire was the most expensive. Well, all the fencing was most expensive. So if you can find that free, if you got some laying around, we will eventually extend this out even further. We'll use fence posts and some chicken wire. And we're not gonna get too fancy with it, this next expansion. And the thing is, we'll be able to close it off at night. Or when we leave, we'll just close it off, get the chickens out of there, close it off, because it won't be quite as secure as this one. And we'll use the remaining of that webbing material for the roof. So things are getting bad with the economy, as I'm sure you're aware. The inflation has killed us. And so what they're doing to correct the inflation is they're raising interest rates. Now, if you got a savings account like me, and you don't have any debt, this is fantastic. But if you're like everybody else and you have debt, credit cards, raising the interest rates means you're going to pay more to borrow money. It's gonna be harder for you to buy a car, house, whatever. So we don't use credit ever. I have one credit card and I use it to buy gas at the gas station. And the only reason is, this may sound stupid, but I don't want to go to the bank and replace my debit card. My debit card has a rip. The only place it doesn't accept the debit card is the gas station. I can use it everywhere else. I just use the credit card to get gas, and then I pay it off at the end of the month, and they don't charge me any interest. So we don't use any credit, and not even in an emergency. We have enough in savings that when an emergency rises, we can cover it. What I try to do is keep enough in savings that if the house was burned down, I can replace it. That's my insurance policy. Or if the car needs a significant repair, that I can get it fixed. But the interest rates are just incredible right now. I'm getting like 3%. It's crazy. But I have a high rate savings account. But man, this is awesome. The problem is with them raising interest rates, it's going to cause a recession. And it's going to be pretty significant. Now, if you think back to the 70s and the 80s, we had rampant inflation back in the 70s. And then they did a correction. Same way they're doing it now. They raised interest rates. Now, for my grandparents, that was the best thing that could ever happen to them. They didn't have any investment accounts. They just put everything in the savings. All through the 80s, I mean, they made a fortune just in savings. But as you know, we've went through several recessions then. I mean, it was pretty tough times. The problem with this one is it looks like a significant recession. It is mimicking the Great Depression. Similar things happened back then. So if it resembles the Great Depression, there's a high probability we could hit another depression. There's just too many economic factors to go into it. Now, I'm not educated enough to really discuss it. I do understand it enough to protect myself. And so for 2 years, I've been telling you to protect yourself. Get debt free, get yourself some chickens. But I really don't know how many people are listening to me. I suspect not very many. I mean, I know there's some, but when you read the comment section, it's pretty clear that people watch this channel for entertainment, I guess. I don't know if I'm that entertaining. I don't understand it. But there's a lot of people who says, oh, I'm just too old, or I can't do it, or I got this problem or that difficulty. And I never really hear too many people say, oh, I've done it. Yeah, you know, like when I got chickens, I bought myself a piece of property. A couple have, don't get me wrong. And I always call them out when it happens too. But not very many. Well, I don't know what the expectation is. We all know it's going to happen. We've known it since the pandemic. We knew during the pandemic that the economy, there was no way the economy could recover from everybody being locked down. It had to reset somehow. And it's resetting. It's going to tank. It'll reset the interest rates. It'll reset the stock market because everything has a bubble. And the bubble was just ready to explode. Here's what I've been saying for 2 years. I'm not saying you're going to be able to do it all now. Might be too late. You need to find yourself a cheap piece of property. Every time I say that though, I can't find property. There's none around. That's just not true. This place cost $4,200, what, 2 years ago. We paid cash for it. And I think we spent an extra $150 for the deed. They're still around. Carolyn finds them all the time. You can't find them. This one had a well on it. The other one we were looking at before we bought this one was 10 acres. It had a well on it. There were some things I didn't like about that one, but it had everything we needed to survive. Of course, I work online, so I needed internet. There was no internet there, and being off grid, I didn't really want to try to figure out how we were going to run internet without a cell phone. That's how I run internet now, is with my cell phone. This just worked out better, and I really like this place. So get yourself a piece of property. Now, how are you going to get $4,200? If you have a house and you know it's going to happen, you know we're heading into a depression, you know that everything you have, you could lose. So do it now instead of saying, well, it's called cognitive dissonance. I know it's going to happen, but I'm going to have faith that it doesn't. Well, I say, prepare for the worst, hope for the best. So sell your house, get whatever money you can get out of it. Most people, the biggest debt they have is their house. So if you have any equity in it, get it out. And if you can come up with $10,000 in cash, find yourself a piece of property, get yourself a little shed from Home Depot. And I know the trolls out there, I'm not going to live in a shed. I'm not a low-life loser. But the thing is those who do not have a plan may lose their house, and you may be in a tent. It's much better to have a shed than a tent. So go get yourself a shed from Home Depot, another $4,000 or $5,000, and for $10,000 you've got everything you need. If you wanted solar panels, go get yourself some solar panels. I have videos on that. You can look at my playlist, go to my channel, go to playlist. I've got all kinds of DIY solar panels, just not that difficult to do. And so for another possible $1,000, you've got some electricity to run your little refrigerator. Learn how to can, get some jars, go to yard sales, get jars, get yourself a canner. Matter of fact, we have 2 canners. One we got at a yard sale, the other one we got at a store. So the yard sale, I think we got it for like 20 bucks, and it was basically new. I just bought the little gasket. You had to replace those gaskets every 3 years. I went ahead and replaced it because I wasn't sure how old it was, and it works just as good as the new one. And then get yourself some chickens. You can buy those tents for $100 each, $100 to $150 each on Amazon. The canvas is no good. I mean, it's junk. After a year it will start to rot. Or you can find yourself some old trampolines, and you can fence the trampoline in. That makes a nice little chicken run. What they say is you need about 10 square feet per chicken. So one of those tents is 10 by 10. So 10 times 10, that's 100 square feet. I can have 10 chickens per tent. So, I mean, when we're talking selling your house, getting $15,000, $20,000 cash out of your house, and now you're debt free, that means all your money can go to things you need. You don't have to spend it on bills. You don't have electric. I don't have any bills. My truck's paid for, so I got insurance, the cell phones. That's all the bills I have. I buy gas for the truck, obviously, and occasionally on really cloudy weeks or something, you know, once every couple months, I had to go buy some gas for the generator because the solar panels don't keep up. I haven't bought 10 gallons of gas all summer probably. It's happening. It is happening now. This is not a warning. This is it. So if you click this up next box, that'll take you to a video where I was showing you how to run your wood stove. So if I can inspire you to do it now so you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.